Okay, so this is the first part of the systematic sweep picking system, and in this system I'm going to go through each major and minor chord or arpeggio using 2 strings at a time, 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 and 6 strings. And we're gonna start off with 3 strings because I feel those are probably the easiest to learn. And I feel that I think they're one of the easier to play as well. So because when you have 2 strings, you have to shift the picking around much faster, and when you get to 4 and 5 and 6 strings, you have a lot of different notes to think about in the left hand. So I think 3 strings is probably sort of the sweet spot when it comes to the technical side of it. Okay. But another thing, all the groundwork you lay down here, since we're going to look at the major and minor shapes, you'll see that if you learn, let's say, this 3-string shape, you'll notice that when you go into the 4-string shapes or 5 strings, you'll already know a large part of the pattern in most cases. But with that said, let's start with the major patterns. Going to do this in C major and then C minor, so you can easier see the difference between the patterns. And since it's triads, we will have for each whatever fingering system we're using here and or sweep pattern, it will be 3 different variations for each major and minor pattern per string set. Because we have 3 notes, and they can be arranged, since we're not skipping any note, we're going 1 3 5 3 5 1 5 1 3. We're not skipping over and let's say have 5 and then going to 3. Be something like this, which you could do of course, but we're not doing that here. So we will have 3 different variations. And the first pattern here is starting on the 8th fret with the pinky, and then you have the 5th fret, the 3rd fret, and then you have 5 5, and the fingering I use is pinky, index finger, and then the 2nd finger here for the barred note. And if you haven't done this before, you'll have to practice for a while before it feels natural. But one good tip I can give here is that however many notes you're going to be barring, we'll bar more notes where the more strings we have, the bigger sweep patterns that is. You really want to make sure that find the lowest string in the whatever barring thing you're working on, and fret that note naturally, so you know correctly where it should be, and then bend the finger down and feel where whatever string you're starting on in the barring pattern will be. So in this case, I'm fretting the note on the G string normally, and then I just turn my finger down like this, and then I can feel what part of the finger that I want to put down when I come from this, because it's easy if you don't do this. It's easy to get a different bar each time. So you might overextend or maybe don't bar at the right place. You sort of get a really bad connection on the last string. But if you do it this way and do it the same way all the time, your brain and your fingers will learn it much faster. So by being consistent like this, you'll progress much faster. And again, the way to find the perfect way to do this is to just fret the note of the lowest string perfectly, and then just switch the finger down like this. Okay? So, and the picking pattern here is, the picking pattern will be the same for all these 3-string arpeggios. So we'll have an upstroke, a pull off, upstroke, and then down, down, down. So it's a 6-note pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And check out the Sweep Picking Basics video if you haven't already, because I go through the important rest stroke technique here. So that's really important when you practice this. So you don't separate the strokes. Okay? So that's the first pattern. Second pattern starts on the 12th fret, and we have 12, 8, 8, and then 9. So, and again, the layout is the same. 2 notes on the top string and then 1, 1. And picking is the same. Upstroke, pull off, up, down, down, down. But we got a different bar here. So instead of barring with the second finger, we need to bar with the first finger. And the same principle applies. You find the correct way to fret the lowest string, which is the B string in this case, and then you just switch it down like this. Then you know where to start. You don't overextend. Okay? And the last pattern, number 3, starts on the 15th fret, and we'll have 15, 12 on the E string, and then 13 on the B string with the second finger, and finally 12 with the index finger. So, and then you're up 1 octave. And you might wonder here, why do I need to bar this pattern? Why can't I just do this? Well, while this works here, as you can see, I never use this. It's because it's not consistent. When you get up here, where the frets are much smaller, will get really hard to be accurate with fretting the notes with different fingers. So it's really important that you learn this technique. And you will learn just by practicing these, so don't worry. So that's the 3 patterns on that string. And now we have the next string group, which starts on the B string. So the lowest pattern will be, because we're not using open strings here, so this pattern wouldn't work. This one we need the G here. So we're starting on the G on the B string. So we go G, E, or 8, 5, and then 5, 5. So again, even more barring here. We've got 3 strings. So, and with the index finger. So again, find the lowest note. The good thing is it's pretty easy to remember this pattern. That's this one with that note added. So, but again, find the lowest note and then bend down. Same picking. And the next inversion is starting on the C on the B string here, 13th fret. So you go 13, 8, and then we got 9, 10. And the fingering is pretty obvious here. 4, 1, 2, 3. So that pattern is usually no problem. And now we got a really, really bad pattern here. And I hardly ever use this pattern, because it's really hard to play. And it's really unpractical, I feel. So usually when something like this comes up, I would use string skipping instead. But sometimes you just have to suck it up and play this pattern. So it's worth practicing it. And also, if for nothing else, just to be complete all the inversions. Okay? So just make peace with the pattern that it's going to be harder than the other ones, and you probably won't be able to play it as well as some of the other ones, but if you practice it, you'll definitely gain some benefits from it. And the actual pattern then is E here on the 17th fret of the B string, and then I pull off to C with the second finger. This is why it's hard, because you get a weird stretch here. Then you need to do this pattern here. We have 12 with the index finger on the G string and 14 on the D string. So okay, and after that we're done with this string group. So because we're back up here, one octave higher, and the last two string groups are pretty easy because the patterns are not that bad, and also they're exactly the same on these two string groups because the tuning in between them is the same. So you don't have the B and G string relationship here that affects the top two string groups down here. So it's the same fingering. Okay, so the lowest pattern here will be starting on the E on the G string, so 9th fret. And then when I pull off to the 5th fret, and then a bar again, and then the third finger on the 7th fret. So 9, 5, 5, 7. Okay, and the next one, we got 12, 9 on the G string, and then a bar, 10, 10. So 12, 9, 10, 10. Okay, and the last one will be 17 on the C note here on the G string, 12 on the E string, so we got 17, 12, and then 14 on the D string and 15 on the A string. So okay, and then we're back up one octave again, so 3 patterns. Then we have exactly the same fingering on the next string group, like I said. Just different places on the neck. So we'll get the lowest pattern here. It's the same one as this one. Because it starts from G, just one octave lower. So G, or 5th fret, 2nd fret, bar on 3rd. Okay, and then same as next one. So we have 10. 5, and then 7, 8. So, and the fingering is 4, 1, 2, 3. And the final one is starting on the E here on the D string. So we go 14, 10, and then 10, 12. So another bar. Okay, and then we're up here again. Okay, so that's all the major patterns. So here's the minor patterns, and the good thing here is that they're very similar to the major patterns, because the only difference between major and minor is the third, or mi to may, or the third to flat third. So that's why we're doing them in the same key as well, because it's easier for you to see the logic and so on. But so let's just restart on the top string group here. So everything will remain the same. All the principles applies. Where it's barring, you check out the lowest string and fret that naturally, and so on. And the picking will be exactly the same. Okay, So we'll start here. So we had this one here, and the third note in C is E, so we'll lower this one to E flat. So we will have 8, 3, 4 on the B string, and then 5 as usual. So it actually looks like exactly like the major pattern on the next string group, but because of the tuning, well, it sounds minor here. Okay, so that's the first one, and the second one actually looks exactly like this one, but again we get the minor sound because of the tuning difference. So we had this one 12, 8, 8, 9, and E is the one we're gonna lower, so we'll lower that in both octaves here. So we get 11, 8, 8, 8. So again, the barring thing. And then we had this one 15, 12, 13, 12. Find the E and lower that one. So we get 15, 13. Sorry, 15, 11, 13, 12. And then we're back here again. So the next string group we'll start here on the G again. So we had 8, 5, 5, 5. Now we'll have the E here will be lowered to 4. So we'll have 8, 4, 5, 5. And the next one starts here on C, on the 13th fret. So we had 13, 8, 9, 10 for the major version. Minor, find the third, lower that one. So, and you'll find that this is similar to this pattern here on the next string group, but we'll just focus on the major ones for now. But if you see similarities, you're not crazy. It's just the way it is. So, okay, so. And then we had the really bad one. Before we had E here top, so E, C, G, E. And now we're going to lower the E's to E flat. I think this is, sorry, it's a bit easier than the other one, but it's still awkward. At least for me. Maybe you have a really good time playing this one, but I don't. So, and that's the 3 on this string group. So now we're just back on this one again. Okay, and then the last 2 string groups, or the second to last string group. But again, the patterns that you learn here will be the same for the last string group as well. So we'll start on the first, in the major one we started on 9 here on the E. Now we'll lower them to E flat, so we get so 8, 5, 5, 6. So you bar with the first finger again. Move up to G. We had G, E, C, G for the major one. Find the E, lower that one. Okay. So we get the bar with the second finger again. So 12, 8, 10, 10. And then we have the last one starting on C. And we had, for the major version, we had the E here. Now we'll lower that one. Okay. we just back up to the octave again. So, which was the same as this one. And the last string group, like I said before, it's the same fingerings, just in different places. So we'll start on G here again. So instead of G, E, we get G, E flat. So we'll have 5, 1, 3, 3. And next one is starting on C here. So we get C, G, E flat, C. So we have for the major, now just minor. And the last one on this string group, the regular one started on E, and we had E, C, G, E. Now we'll lower the E's again. Okay, so we got 13, 10, 10, 11. So that's basically the minor patterns. So if you know the major patterns and you can find the E, and hopefully you've gone through the 5 pianos, you have a good idea where all the white notes are. Just find the E in each pattern and lower that, and you'll automatically have the new patterns. And of course, you need to. The idea here is to keep the number of notes per string the same, so we can keep the picking the same. That's really the beauty of sweep picking, because we're playing all these different inversions and all these strings with exactly the same right hand pattern. So once you get comfortable with that one, it's mainly a matter of learning the new shapes for the left hand. Okay, so in the next video I'm gonna show you how to practice this. So see you there.